As a beginning composer, do you struggle to write effectively for the brass section? Hi, it's Simon from Composing Academy, and today I'm going to walk you through step by step how to write and orchestrate for a brass section such as this. So the brass section is known for its power and is often used to help add weight and might to the orchestra. A typical orchestral brass section, featured in movie and game soundtracks, features either 4, 6 or 8 French horns, 3 or 4 trumpets, 3 trombones and a tuba. So let's start by looking at these individual instruments. The French horn is an incredibly versatile instrument, capable of playing mellow, delicate passages, but it can also give brilliance and power when needed, dominating over the other instruments of the orchestra. The French horn is what we call a transposing instrument, which means that the notes written on the printed music are not actually the same pitches you'll hear when the instrument is being played. The note a horn will produce will sound a perfect fifth, or 5 notes, lower than the pitch it was written for. For this reason, French horns are often referred to as horns in F. So if a C was printed on the sheet music, what you'd actually hear is the note 5 notes below C, in F. Or if we had, say, a B flat written down, we would actually hear a perfect fifth lower, which would be in E flat. So if you're to have your music played by real players, you'll have to make sure that the part which you write out for the horns to read is written transposed up a perfect fifth, to take into account the difference in pitches. Most notation programs such as Sibelius or Dorico give you the option to do this automatically, but it's definitely something you should be aware of. Of course, if you're just using samples within your computer, there's no need to worry about any transposition. The notes you play are the notes you hear. Because of this, when describing the range of the French horn, it can be shown in 2 ways: its written range and its sounding range. Its written range starts at a low F sharp, which is 2 below middle C, and goes up to a high C, which is 2 Cs above middle C. Which means its sounding range starts at a low B, which is 3 below middle C, up to an F, which is the second F above middle C. French horns can be great for playing melodies or counter melodies, but are also useful for providing harmonic support within the orchestra. Horns can sound dark and brilliant in the lower registers, and round and full in the upper register of the instrument. There are usually a minimum of 4 or anything up to 8 horns in a modern orchestra. Within the French horn section, it's usual to play passages where all the horn players are playing the same notes in unison, or to divide them up so each player or group of players has a different note. Like the French horns, trumpets can be extremely versatile, often found playing melodies as well as supporting harmonic passages. The most common type of trumpet in an orchestra is the trumpet in B flat. Like the French horns in F, the trumpet in B flat is also a transposing instrument. But this time, when a C is printed on the page, the actual note which comes out of the trumpet is a B flat. The written range of a trumpet goes from an F sharp, that's 1 below middle C, up to a high D, which will be 3 Ds above middle C. Its sounding range then is an E, which again is 1 below middle C, up to a high C, which is 2 Cs above middle C. Most trumpet players can achieve notes that are higher than the high C, but this is very much down to each individual player's technical ability. The range I've given should be considered the safe range for most trumpet players. Again, like the French horns, trumpet parts can be written so that all players are playing the same notes in unison, or notes can be divided among the trumpet players to form chords in harmony. The trumpets have a clear and penetrating sound, and can be easily heard when playing a melody within an orchestra. A modern day orchestra will typically have 3 trumpet players in their brass sections. The most common type of trombone found in the orchestra is the tenor trombone, followed usually by a bass trombone. A standard orchestra usually having 2 or 3 tenors and 1 bass trombone. Like the other brass instruments, the trombone can be used for melodic writing, but is more often used for harmony writing. Because of this, you'll frequently find the trombone section divided into individual notes forming chords. Trombones are non-transposing instruments, so the note which is written is the pitch that sounds when played. The normal range of the tenor trombone starts at a low E, 2 octaves below middle C, and extends up to a B flat, 1 octave up from middle C. Bass trombones can extend down lower by around 4 notes, making their lowest note a low B flat, which is 3 B flats below middle C. Trombones make use of the bass clef most of the time, but can also be known to use the tenor clef when high notes are required. Finally, we come to the tuba. Unlike the other instruments in the brass section, standard orchestras normally only have one tuba. The tuba is the lowest instrument in the brass family, similar to the bass in the strings and contrabassoon in the woodwinds. It can blend well with the trombones, and is mostly used to reinforce the bass line of a piece. Its thick and powerful sound lends itself well to doubling with other instruments of the orchestra, such as the basses in the string section. The tuba is another instrument which is non-transposing, so the notes written on the page are the pitches which are heard when played. The range starts from the D below the bass staff, or 3 below middle C, up to the G above middle C, and is always notated in the bass clef. So here I have an orchestral piece which I wrote to accompany an action scene. I'll walk through each section of the piece, detailing the brass writing and how it works in context with the rest of the orchestra. There are 4 French horns, 3 trumpets, 2 tenor trombones, a bass trombone, and a tuba. The recording you'll hear is a live orchestra, but for the purpose of the video, I'll only show the brass data in the score and MIDI editor. Also note that the score is in C, which means that the transposing instruments, the horns and the trumpets, are displaying their sounding pitches and not their written pitches. Okay, so the opening here is designed to be calming. The music is accompanying an epic mountainous landscape with no hint of the drama and action which is about to be unleashed. As I had the 4 horns at my disposal, I gave them all the tune from bars 4 to 8. The horn part then changes from playing the melody to playing harmony in the form of triads, as the strings take over the new section of melody. Here you can see the horns have the triads of F major going to G major twice, with horns 1 and 2 playing the top notes, and horns 3 and 4 playing the bottom 2 notes of the triad respectively. The horns are then giving a break from bars 15 to halfway through bar 18, in order to prepare for the more dramatic writing which is about to come in. So let's take a listen to this opening section. Bar 19 sees the trumpets and trombones enter for the first time with a short and aggressive phrase, played in octaves between them. This shows how fast and agile the trombones can be, as well as the trumpets. The horns and trumpets are using a playing technique called flutter tonguing in bar 20, which helps to add a more harsh and aggressive sound whilst crescendoing into bar 21. So bar 21 is the start of the new section. For the first 2 bars of this section, the strings have the main focus, with the tuba and bass trombone just accenting the first beat of each bar, giving additional weight to the bottom end with the low E. From bar 23, the trombones and tuba are outlining the dissonant harmony of E, G and C sharp, which repeats throughout the section, playing the rhythmic accents. The horns, meanwhile, are back to playing the melody, this time with a chromatic flavour, and are all playing together in unison, again to give maximum power and impact to the melody. Bar 28 sees a trumpet passage. This doesn't have any significant function, as it's playing the same notes as the violins who are playing the rhythmic accompaniment, but the addition of the trumpet helps to give a slightly different sonic colour. So let's take a quick listen to these last few bars. Bars 32 to 36 are an example where a brass section can be used to help create a crescendo or build up through orchestration. The trumpets now have this rising pattern playing in thirds and crescendoing at the same time. There are two notes split between the three trumpets, so trumpet 3 is doubling the second trumpet part. Bars 37 to 44 then make full use of the power and might that a brass section can bring to the orchestra. Just about each instrument in the section has its own note to play, with the whole section playing the same rhythm of notes together. You can see from the MIDI view just how thick the chord is, spanning 3 octaves. Notice down at the low end that the notes are further apart. Be careful that you keep the voicing or spacing between notes quite large when playing in the low registers. Notes too close together can result in a muddy sound. The higher up the register, for example in the trumpets, the easier it is to have notes closer together, for example the thirds in the trumpet part in bar 39. In bars 46 to 48, the focus is really on the strings, but the horns and trombones help to add to the overall crescendo in the orchestra with some dissonant harmony of D and G sharp. Bar 49 features both the horns and trumpets playing the same material, a descending chromatic pattern played in thirds. Having both sets of instruments playing the same phrase helps to give maximum power to the melodic figure. Let's take a listen to that quickly. Bar 50 then sees a return to the accented rhythmic pattern from before. The trombones are pretty much playing the same part as before, but notice how the trumpets are playing this descending chromatic pattern in thirds again, before the French horns come back in with melody from bar 54. And also notice the short descending trumpet line in bar 62. Although this is written for both the first and second trumpets, they can still be clearly heard over the top of an orchestra going full pelt. The ending then features a development of the chromatic trumpet pattern, this time with all 3 trumpets playing in unison. The horns, trombones and tuba are giving extra harmonic support, playing triads between them to accompany the frantic strings. So now we've seen how each part is written, let's take a listen to the whole cue. So that's a brief introduction into writing and orchestrating for the brass section. Always make sure each instrument has a clear defined role at each point in your music. As a starting point, look to the trumpets and French horns for the more melodic parts of your writing, and the trombones and tuba to help provide additional harmonic support to the rest of the orchestra. Once you get more confident writing for the brass section, these designations can, and of course, should be broken. Have a go at giving the tuba the melody, with the trumpets providing the harmony. If you found the video useful, as always, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more composing tutorials and tips. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments below as well.